That was the door closing, so I'm going to assume that means it's time to start. Hi guys, I'm Kelsey. Thank you for coming to my panel. I'm going to be talking about owning and running a video game store. If you don't know who I am and you're just interested in the subject, I am a Texas transplant living in Seattle. I've been there for about 6 years now. I co-own Pink Gorilla Games, which is an old video game store. We do, imports, retro, that sort of thing. It's been around all the way since 2005. I'm 23, so I've not owned it since 2005. But I worked there as a manager for about 4 or 5 years, and then I bought it and have owned it for over a year now. So why, if I've only owned it for a year, why do you care? Why do I have any reason to talk to you? Well, I was a communications and business major at the University of Washington. We've had a whole lot of growth my first year of owning it, so I think I'm relatively competent. I relocated and remodeled one of the locations, so I have a little bit of experience in the actual setup of a store. And for this, I also asked a couple of my other friends who own game stores to give me a little bit of their input as well. So I'm going to be including some of their wisdom in this as well. So, how many people here actually want to own a game store? Some of you guys? Yeah, it's pretty cool. They say if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. So that's not true, but but it does make work a lot more fun. It's good work. It's not boring work at the very least. If you already buy and sell video games, you're already like halfway there. I've met some people here who own or go to flea markets and that sort of thing with their stuff, and that's how you begin to get the amount of stuff it requires to own a video game store. Because it's a lot. Most people don't just have $100 grand to drop on inventory right away. That's a lot of money, but you can accumulate it throughout the years. Buying and selling, buy big lots of stuff, sell off, enough to break even, basically make a profit, and it'll take a while, but eventually you can do that. If you want to be your own boss, it's awesome. I can definitely tell you that. I was able to just say, bye, I'm going to Missouri for a few days, and no one can tell me no. So, so that's fun. Most people have fond memories of video game stores in their past. We all have one that closed down that we miss terribly, whether it was like a rental store or a video game store, a mom and pop shop. Like, I want one of these to be here again. There's not one in my city anymore, and I want to relive those memories. So totally, that was one of my big reasons for getting a game store as well. And if your reason for wanting to own a game store is that retro games are worth money and it will lead to a life of luxury and hot babes, that is not true. We do pretty well, and I really enjoy it, but if you're trying to get rich, this is not the way to go. If you're trying to love your job and enjoy your life, this is the way to go. So, let me tell you a little bit about a day in the life. The first thing I want to say is just, at the end of the day, it's retail. Like, you will be just interacting with customers, and you have to like that interaction, and you can't totally hate people. There will be days when you do hate people, but you can't totally hate people, and you have to be okay with interacting with them. Some people, like my co-owner, Cody, prefer to be in the back fixing things and not interacting with people, so he's found a way around it, but it's retail. You gotta interact with people. It's long hours. If you own your own business, you might be working 80 or 90 hours a week, depending on how much money you have in the beginning, how little you can pay your employees. Obviously, you want to be able to pay everyone a really nice wage, but when you're starting out, a lot of times the people who work at game stores are just happy to be there, and they can work for minimum wage, and hopefully that changes eventually. The other thing is, like, sometimes it's just kind of gross. Like, you'll get in lots of games that I'm surprised people aren't more embarrassed to bring in a box full of stuff that has actual cockroaches in it, and this is what I do. This is why I don't have free hands or anything like that. I use a lot of chemicals. So you'll be cleaning a lot. You'll be cleaning a lot of things, and sometimes you'll be cleaning a lot of things and they won't even end up selling it to you. So you gotta be okay with that. But at the end of the day, it is really rewarding. You get to talk to people. Video game stores are an experience. People still come into them because they want to interact with somebody, they want to get recommendations, they want to talk about their favorite games, they want to look around and be like, it's a really rewarding experience. You just have to know that it's retail and you won't be able to kick back and play video games. And you'll be surprised how many people ask me if I just get to play games all day. I don't think I've ever played games at work. Like, ever. Maybe after, you know, the store's kind of closing down and I've got another employee there who can handle the rest, but there's stuff to do. There's always stuff to do. The one thing you want to know about owning a game store is it does take a business mind. I don't think that you need, I mean, I did take business classes in college. I don't think you need to. I think you can read a book, you can do an audiobook, you can watch YouTube videos. You have to understand business concepts. You don't need a business degree whatsoever. But you have to just have a business mindset, and sometimes that means you can't be super nice to everybody because you will, I mean, you'll run out of money if you cut deals with everybody who wants you to cut deals with them. You just will. So sometimes you have to put your foot down. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. I think first impressions are everything. That's sort of a business concept, but you know, not something you need to go to a business class to understand. I was going to be a dick when I did this slide, and I was going to show you some pictures of stores that I could not tell were game stores, but I didn't want to call anybody out, so I'm not going to do that. There are, if you guys, has anyone read that Polygon article about owning a game store? There are some pictures in there of game stores that I was like, are you sure that's not just a house? And I'm sure they're owned by lovely people and all of that, but you know, first impressions are everything. If you can't tell that it's a game store and that it's something that you want to go see, like how are they supposed to know? So I have a couple of pictures in here, like this one, other one, this pink gorilla, obviously, is mine. That's on the outside of our International District store. It's obviously very bright. You can totally tell what's in there. This middle one here is Game Over. It's a chain that's all throughout Texas, and there's a couple in Washington now. I think they've got a really good setup with a bunch of video game boxes on the top and a bunch of really nice display cases. They do really well. And then Video Games New York, which is pretty far from here, but they've got just a big, you know, their window has got Mario and Sonic in it. You can tell. You need to be able to tell that, hey, this is an awesome place. You know, this is a video game store. And that's on the inside as well, but the outside is the most important. You have a lot of competition, obviously. The first I want to talk about is other retail stores. So other retail stores might be GameStop, but it also might be another mom and pop. I definitely recommend trying to find a place that does not already have a bunch of mom and pop shops. So I love Seattle. I love that Seattle has a lot of game stores, but it's not a great place to try to keep opening stores. We have a lot of them in the, and I won't even say it's Seattle, it's just kind of like Washington area. Reggie and Briggs, you guys probably agree with me, right? It's awesome. It's awesome for the customer, but I would say that if you want to move to Seattle and open a game store, it's probably not a great idea because there's a lot of us. So location is a big factor. And that doesn't just mean proximity to other game stores. I want to tell you, we had our International District store, we had it for 13 years, and we recently moved it. It's like a store inside of a building. So you walk into a building, and then there's a couple stores kind of in a ring like this. We moved it from this side to this side. This side had a window to the outside, and our previous space did not. The amount of difference in traffic, you guys, is ridiculous. I'm now having to consider putting a second employee in there. I moved 8 feet, but I got a window. So location is not just making sure you're not next to other stores. It's, do you have a big window? Are you in a heavily populated area? My 2 stores are in the International District, which is kind of touristy, but Seattle's International District isn't really that touristy compared to like LA's or Vancouver's, but it's still somewhat, you know, somewhat touristy. And then the other location is in a college town. So these are good places to be. You want to be around. You don't want to be in a neighborhood. We had a location that was just kind of in a neighborhood. It didn't do so well. There have been other stores in Seattle that put themselves just kind of on the edges of neighborhoods and have not done so well. So how you can compete with other retail stores? GameStop is easy. Just offer more and have cheaper prices. That's literally the only reason GameStop is failing, you guys. Like, they just will not adjust their pricing model. Other than that, they don't do that much wrong. Like, they're an okay game store, but it's just always overpriced. Unless you can find some good, obscure Wii and DS stuff, sometimes they don't price that very well. You can get a good deal, but so GameStop is easy. But for the other people, maybe they are a little bit cheaper than you, but maybe you have a better selection, your store is easier to find, you've got better customer service, you can still totally beat them even if your prices are a little bit higher. The other thing is eBay. People will always say that you can find something cheaper on eBay. Well, sometimes you can. And sometimes things appear cheaper because condition, obviously, is one of them. But also, reproductions are everywhere. Bootlegs, reproductions. N64 games are now starting to get bootlegs. This has been frustrating for me because for a long time I was telling people that they didn't really have to worry about it, and now you totally have to worry about it. And there's a lot out there. Things, people are making Mario Kart for $20. So they see Mario Kart for $45 and they're like, that's a ripoff. I'm like, no, this is a real Mario Kart and that's a bootleg. So I fight it with education. I teach all of my employees how to spot counterfeits, and I also try to encourage them to nicely teach customers how to spot counterfeits as well, and say, hey, if it's coming from China, it's not real. It's just not. Like, I'm sure someone will prove me wrong and say, hey, I actually got a real thing from China, maybe that one person. But, video games were banned in China for a long time. US and Japanese video games, they did not allow them. So the odds of finding a legitimate game shipping from China, especially at a really cheap price, it's not going to happen. Amazon is the other thing. Now, Amazon can go both ways, because sometimes I get customers who come in and they say, wow, you got this game for $5. Actually, this happened right before I left. I had an X-Men game. He's like, you got this for only $5? The cheapest one is $60 on Amazon. I'm like, great, buy it. And, try to resell it on Amazon. Amazon is kind of tricky to navigate. They still haven't given you a super, the text is really tiny. So if you're looking at something like that X-Men game, odds are what you saw was a sealed copy. But Amazon will usually first show you the new price, and then it'll say for 1 cent below. You're not getting those things for 1 cent either, because it's usually 1 cent plus $7 shipping. So all of a sudden it's a $7 game, but when they're looking at it, they either think it's worth 60 or they think it's worth a penny. So you're either giving them the best deal of their life or you're ripping them off. So again, I try to educate people on that and say, click on it, click a little further, see what it actually says when you add it to your cart. But the bottom line is, someone's always going to beat you at something, so don't try to beat them at those things. If it's something you can't do. For instance, GameStop and Amazon are going to be able to get brand new releases for way cheaper than you, or controllers or consoles, that sort of thing. You can't beat them on price, you will be losing money. It is impossible. So don't go for that. Don't try to shove your way into a market that you can't win in, and instead find some of these other things, having a better location, having a better selection, better customer service, all those things, better conditioned games. Try to find those things and make yourself better at something else. I think, I have a slide in here that is literally just don't do brand new games, just don't. It's rigged against you, you can never win, so don't. Pretty straightforward. It is literally cheaper. Buying from Amazon is cheaper than buying from any of my distributors. So I can get a game from Amazon, give Amazon Prime. It's 20% off at release. For my distributors, I'm lucky if it's 10%. So again, I can't win. It's going to be cheaper on Amazon because I can't beat their prices. All right, so what do you want to see when you walk into a game store? I don't think everyone might know this explicitly, but you can kind of feel it when you walk into a game store, right? If a game store is just full of stuff, if you feel, a sense of nostalgia, nice warm fuzzy feeling, hey, this is somewhere I really want to be, and if it's nice and organized, you might not be thinking about those things, but you'll like this game store more than a game store with empty spaces, than one with kind of a white walls, a bland, sterile environment. No decorative touches, even something as simple as just putting empty boxes around the wall, like that one picture I showed earlier. That really helps. They have a green wall and they have boxes all around their wall, and it makes it look a lot more inviting, a lot more gamer-oriented, and they don't have any empty spaces. Even if they have to fill it up with, copies of common games like God of War or, Final Fantasy X or something like that, they do that because lots of games is better than it looking empty. Even if all of the games there are gems, it's just not going to look that good when you walk in. And of course, any messes, any confusing things and weird layouts, I'm guilty of this. I've not found a good way to hang my loose discs yet, so like my loose GameCube games are across the store from my box GameCube games. I don't like that. It's confusing for people. But in general, you want to just try to be organized and have some decoration there. So going back to competition, basically, you want to be remembered for something. It can be a lot of different things. I particularly really strongly believe in logos. I think that having a really strong logo or a strong color scheme or something like that, a visual element to you that makes people think of you, is really strong. Because even if they had an amazing customer service experience, they had an incredible experience, but you look exactly the same as the video game store, 5 miles that way and 5 miles that way, you're just straight up not going to remember which one they went to. They won't. So my store is the pink store. You're not going to forget that you got good service in the pink store because, we got a big gorilla logo and a pink walls and green ceilings and stuff, and you don't forget that. The atmosphere is also something that people will remember. As much as I love customers and I love regular customers, sometimes we have people who like to just stand at the counter and chat with me all day, which is great. I totally would if I could. But when you walk into a store and the only people working are chatting with someone else for like 20 minutes, it's just not a super inviting atmosphere. You feel like you're not part of a club, like you're intruding on some sort of cool guy meeting you can't really be a part of, and it's just not as fun. So you want to have a welcome atmosphere. You want to greet people, of course, when they come in. I mean, this is all really basic, but you want to be able to show people that this is a fun place to browse around and encourage them to stick around and not just, get in, get out. If you got a bunch of people crowding around the counter and having a private conversation, most people are just going to feel like they need to leave real quick. Like they're not welcome there. Events are another really great way for people to remember you. But again, I try to put some spin on the event that makes it unique to you, because again, if you have a really cool, Smash Brothers tournament, but so do all of the video game stores in the area, they might just forget which one they were at, They're all gonna kind of feel the same and blend together. Special services you offer, things like, for my store, for instance, we will reach and unlock most consoles for free. That's an interesting-ish service that we provide. Lots of stores will provide some sort of repair service. They'll appraise games. Obviously, pretty much every store does that. I'll tell people if they have a bootleg and that sort of thing. And then your employees can also make really memorable experiences. But I really strongly believe that it all goes back to visuals in the end. Because even if you have all of these things, if they don't remember where they were, it could also be, I would say, a really good name too. So if you have a really, I really like Another Castle. This is a store that we have in Washington. I think they have a great logo and I think they have a great name, and it's an easy to remember one. It's not blank games, blank trading, blah blah. Not that there's anything wrong with those stores. It's just that there's a lot of them. So you get a lot of them can end up kind of blending together if they don't have some other really strong pull. So in business, we have this concept called USPs. That is unusual. Oh man, see, now I don't even know. Let me check my notes here. Unique selling propositions. Yeah, there we go. See, my business degree. Great. It's just a pretentious way of saying what you do different, which I've sort of been talking about this time. But here's some of the interesting things that some other people have told me that they do. One that I really like is store store Video Game Galaxy. They said we offer store credit for good grades. Kids who bring in their report cards will get store credit. It is totally okay to steal some of these ideas. You just want to be different than the stores that are your competition. So you don't need to do something completely unique, but know your audience, because for me, Pinkerilla is in a college town. If I was telling them they could bring in their college grades and get store credit, I think they would all think I'm an asshole. So, because, the college kids don't care. But near an elementary school or something like that, absolutely. I think that's a really, really good idea. One guy I talked to said that he has a store jingle. He made like a song for his store, and you can sing it and get a percentage off. That's awesome. People do punch cards for spending certain amounts of money. You have rewards programs. They do retro game nights for families, all kinds of other things. I already mentioned that we do free region modding with purchase of any Japanese game. We have a big selection of import titles, which a lot of stores don't. And we also offer 10% off when people wear our merchandise in the store. So these are a couple ideas. You can absolutely use these. Just know that some of them are not going to necessarily work for you. I don't know what the market is like here in Missouri. I was actually surprised to see quite a bit of imports on the floor. So maybe having a lot of imports would be good for your business, but maybe it wouldn't be. And then you've just wasted a lot of your money on your floor space. So, events, promotions, and sales. These are a really good way to get new customers and deepen your loyalty with existing customers. They will bring a temporary boost of income, possibly, but I want to mention that the focus should always be on community building, because events are temporary. They are always temporary, and they are not going to bring you continued business. I have seen some people do we do a sale, the same sale or big sale every single week. Well, you're just going to end up with people who don't shop with you except when you're doing sales. So you don't want to overuse these. It needs to be focused on community building. However, I do no events at my international district store. You know why? Because it's all tourists there. It's almost all out-of-town people. So why would I do an event? They can't come back. It doesn't really matter. And I do events at the other stores, so if people do want to come, it's not like they're super far away, but some places are just not going to be meant for having events. So here are some types. You have tournaments, which are great for community building. They are also really hard to run. I've tried many times. I'm always told that I'm not good enough. Something about frame rates and lag and I respect those people a lot, but I could not handle putting up with exactly the specifications they need, which I totally respect. And there's some game stores around me that do it super well, and that's where people should go for those tournaments. They're also honestly not really likely to generate income. There are some exceptions. My little brother goes to a game store in Texas who has a really big Smash scene there, and there's like a $10 buy-in or something like that, so he actually does generate a lot of money from it. But in general, you're probably not going to, people are going to be there for the tournament, and they're going to leave when it's done. Game nights are also great for community building. It's just kind of a non-competitive version of a tournament. You just have people come in. I do these. They don't really generate any income, but they are great at community building. We have the same, 20 regulars who show up for that, and they spend their money other times. And they're always coming back, so I'm totally happy with that. Holiday sales are awesome too. You can totally get people in on what might otherwise be slow days. The cons, of course, is that they're just really temporary, and you can't do it for every holiday, because then it starts to be, I'm just gonna wait. In 6 days it's Columbus Day or whatever. I'm just gonna wait till then. They're obviously gonna do a sale. No reason sales are good. I do these sometimes where, it's not necessarily a holiday or something. I'm just doing a buy two, get one free for whatever reason. And this is, again, where I'm making that point. Just people will just wait for the sales if you do too many of them. So you have to balance them. You can't always be doing sales. I saw this weird concept recently that a couple of other game store owners have done, which is free video game day. You guys have heard of free comic book day? They've been doing free video game day, and I'm fascinated by this concept because video games are expensive. They're not like comic books, and no one is sending us free games, so they've just been giving out inventory. Now, I I wrote that it's not likely to generate income, but some of them have been telling me that I'm wrong, that they've actually made good money on those days. But obviously, you get a ton of goodwill and community building from that. People love you if you give them free stuff. I do mini versions of this, like giving out stickers or something that's, doesn't cost me that much money. But, it's an interesting concept. And then I have circled here conventions because they basically have no cons. They could have a little bit of risk, I guess, if the con is a total flop. But in the end, it's pretty much only going to give you money. It's only going to be a tiny bit of risk involved, and you're going to hit a whole new audience of people. So something like this is awesome. Something, all of the retro gaming expos. You sometimes might even want to go to something like a Comic-Con or something like that. They're very low risk and very high reward, so I highly recommend doing those. Some of the challenges you'll face, there's a lot. I didn't list them all here. People are going to try to take advantage of you. Our return policy is 7 days with the receipt if it's defective. I am very lenient about that. If you just are like, you know what, I just bought the wrong game, I already have this one, oops, and you're being nice to me, go ahead, you can exchange it out for something. But sometimes those people will turn into, this is the 10th time this week they've done that, and they're just renting games from me for free. So people will try to take advantage of you no matter how nice you're being, which is why I have a real return policy. That way I can always tell them, hey, I'm making an exception for you. You'll face the challenge of competition. You'll mostly face the challenge of customers coming in here and just saying, I get this for $10 on Amazon or eBay or whatever, even if that's not true. You will face lots of bootlegs, reproductions, that sort of thing. Most of the time, I want to say, it's people who just don't know. Some of the times, it's people who are trying to take advantage of you and trying to sell you something defective or not real and get money from you. You will also have a lot of experience with theft. There will be people who steal things from you. One of the reasons, so in our store, we have everything zip tied to the wall. That's actually how they do it in Japan as well, although they usually don't use zip ties because nobody steals anything in Japan. But they have them hanging in little baggies like that. So they are going to try to steal from you, and the police will probably not help you at all because they're just going to be stealing like a $20 game, and then police don't care. That's not that's not like Grand Theft Auto, right? They're well, it might literally be Grand Theft Auto, but not the charge of Grand Theft Auto. I just thought of that one right now. And then also, people are going to try to sell you stolen items. It's sometimes easy to tell because sometimes they're really dumb and they bring in a PS4 and they're like, just give me $15 for it. I'm like, I don't think, that's probably not accurate there. So you're going to have that kind of thing happen, and sometimes you'll learn to know those faces, so you can just turn them away. We just document everything. We take their ID, we take the console serial number, that sort of thing. The other thing is that the market's going to change. Like, eventually, some of the things that might be your hot sellers right now it's just going to totally die. No one's going to be buying it anymore. So you have to prepare for that. So for instance, obviously, digital is a really big thing right now. So we're not only selling video games, we sell cards, we sell merchandise, all kinds of things like that. Because even though retro game collecting is popular right now, who knows about the coming generations? I mean, the PS5 might be digital only, and I mean, eventually, 30 years down the line, when the PS4 is retro, I've got nothing after that. Everything after that was digital, so I have to be selling something else. You have to kind of start early with a game plan for what else you can sell. I don't want to talk too much about the cost. This was actually taken from a handful of the people that I talked to and from that Polygon article that talked about the costs. Most stores are going to cost total somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000 a month. Obviously, you need to make more than that, a little bit of buffer room. And you will have, this will include things like rent, employees, electricity, gas, water, waste, random business-related bills. We get all kinds of things every once in a while. It's just a $50 bill in the mail. It's like, hey, you're a business. We're the government. Pay us for being a business. This is your, renewal for, I don't know. I get all kinds of weird business renewal things, and most of that's probably Washington specific, but I'm sure you guys have something similar here. Supplies for distributor orders like plushies or cards or that sort of thing, and of course for trade-ins, which can vary by thousands. I mean, some months we don't have a ton traded in, and it may just be a few $1,000s, but some months we buy 2 people's entire collections, and it's like $20,000 going out. So you got to be prepared for that sort of thing, which is why I say you need to make more than 10 to 20,000 a month. So what's the future of game stores? If you read that Polygon article, you know that they were really bleak about it, and like they were like, ah, yeah, it's just kind of dying, and all these people are sad. GameStop closed 150 locations last year, but I still think I don't think game stores are dying. I think dumb game stores are dying. I think game stores that won't pivot, won't change, won't react to what people are asking for or what they're. And sometimes you have to kind of know. You can't. Customers won't always tell you exactly what they need, but you have to just be aware and be there. That's why the good game stores are run by somebody who's actually there, at least most of the time. Maybe not every day, but they have to be interacting with the customers and seeing what they want and making changes when they have to. So I think the smart businesses are going to be around for a long time because they're going to know, they're going to anticipate these changes coming, and they're going to act on them. But the ones like GameStop who are like, no, this is fine, we're going to continue to pay you $8 for a brand new game and sell it for $55 for 3 months after it's released, I mean, that's not going to work. People are going to go to the competitors who are doing it better, like Amazon, like eBay, and other game stores. And retro game collecting and physical games in general are popular, and I don't anticipate them just plummeting in popularity. I mean, this hobby is growing, and people like limited run games here are, there's obviously a demand for physical media, so I don't think it's going to go away forever. Anyways, that is my presentation. I'm sure you guys have some questions, so you don't have to add. What's up?
So I'm sure you probably get like rare games in every now and again. Is there ever like a battle of selling it or putting it into your?
Oh, constantly. I've tried to limit myself by just saying I basically won't ever take anything that's really expensive. If it's over $100, a game that's over $100, I will just pay for it, at least half, pay for it out of my own pocket so that I can't just, I mean, it is my money to begin with, but I don't want to just be taking everything. I have to incentivize myself to not take things. So by making myself pay for them, then, I basically end up paying for the whole thing, right? Like you're paying 50% to the person who traded it in, and then I'm paying it out of my own pocket. I basically just paid for it 100% out. So.
Do you have any examples?
I'm trying to think. I will take like rare DS games sometimes just because I'm like, I don't know that I'm going to see this again. What's something I've taken recently? I honestly can't remember. Oh, there was a $90 WonderSwan game that came in recently. I took that. I traded some stuff in for it. What else?
What are some of the weirdest or worst things you've ever had brought to your store that trade in?
Porn DVDs. Anything with cockroaches on the inside, which has happened on more than one occasion. There's been lots of just like really sticky things. I never want to know what the stickiness is. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. We get people trying to sell some weird stuff. Like, it's not all bad. It's just things like, buy my Sony Walkman and my library books. Like, this isn't just like a dump. Like, we sell video games. Anything else?
What do you guys do if something's stolen, or like that's traded in that's stolen?
If I know right away it's stolen, I try to stall for time and call the police. I had an employee who acted way better than I could have ever done. He opened up a fight stick that was being traded in, and on the inside someone had written their contact information, and it was did not match up with the ID of the guy trading it in. So he was like, hey, do you know, said to the guy, hey, do you know Matthew Smith or whatever? And the dude just bolted and left it there. So That would, I wouldn't have thought to check that. So we typically try to call the police if we know it's stolen. If we suspect it's stolen but we can't prove it, we just lowball them really hard. You know, if they say they want to sell the PS4, they don't care what they get for it, they're just like nervous and trying to get out of there. And I will offer them like $10, and if they take it, then usually the person, if it ever turns up, you know, the person who had that stolen will, like, you know, cross-check the number with any police reports and that sort of thing. They're okay with paying $10 to get it back, but I mean, it's $10. I'll give it to them if they're really not okay with it, but I haven't run into that yet. They're usually just thankful that we caught it.
What's your favorite episode
It's a good question. The most fun one for me, just because it gave me an excuse to buy like $300 worth of WonderSwan games, was the WonderSwan one. But gosh, I think I really liked the spotting the bootleg and reproduction one, which is one of the most watched things on his channel now. I'm happy to educate more people.
I love that video.
Good.
Where it's like, I had somebody in my store today, and they had one of my people Nintendo.
Yep, yeah. I had a farmer employee buy something that said Nintendo on it, so it's a good thing to know. And I did not fire him for that, by the way. That former employee for unrelated reasons. But yeah, I mean, it's good to be aware of bootleg, whether you own a game store or whether you're just at something like this. You want to know that, you know, that what you're buying is legit, especially if it's high-end. Another question? No, maybe not.
I mean, you have like a 5-year plan.
For the business? Yeah, we do. And unfortunately, I can't really share any of it with you, but I can tell you that my co-owner and I are looking into trying to open a 3rd location in Portland. He's way more ambitious about it than I am. I'm more of a play it safe kind of person who wants to save up a lot before we try to jump into something like that. But there's, you know, we definitely want to grow. Obviously, everyone wants to grow, but we have, I would say, pretty solid plans in place for the next 5 or 10 years for what we anticipate, and that's important.
Are you going to do any online?
Any online selling? So this is a tricky subject for me. I would love to do online selling. However, when we've done online selling in the past, all of the really good stuff leaves the store immediately, and then when people walk into the store, they don't see anything good. So we are probably going to have an online store, but it is probably mostly going to sell things that I can reorder, things like plushies and controllers and that sort of thing. And then I am basically always happy to entertain one-off, like if you message the store, you know, on Twitter or on Facebook or something and say, hey, I saw you post this, I really want that. I'm usually happy to oblige to that. The exceptions are going to be things like if you want Super Mario World, I'm just going to say, sorry, we need those are popular. But anything, you know, maybe a boxed copy of Super Mario World would be a different story because that's not the same customer who's trying to buy that.
What are some of your best sellers in the store?
Best sellers, you will, if you own a game store or eventually own a game store, you will probably have the same list that I do. It is first-party Nintendo stuff, mostly on NES through GameCube. Yeah, NES through GameCube, I mean, that's a big range, but you know, all the Marios, all the Zeldas, all the Pokemons. Super Mario Sunshine has been one that's asked for a whole lot lately. We get asked for Game Boy Advance SPs constantly to the point where I cannot keep them in stock. So there's that. And then I guess like a weird thing that sells really well in our store, and it might be from doing that video with Metal Jesus, is WonderSwan stuff. I actually have to import that just every once in a while, just buy like, you know, 20 games or whatever, because they actually sell pretty well.
The SP selling as well, because some of the videos that come out where you switch out to the regular advance, where you have the better handheld. But
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
it's a better hand.
yeah.
I just got into like a waiting on YouTube. It's like 3 months of watching. And all you guys came here, so I got really lucky on seeing like Reggie and everybody. And I just saw that mod. Kind of noticed that some of them started finding us lately. But it was interesting mod because it's just your hand better to advance.
Totally.
But you have better screen than the D, so I just didn't know if that was the reason or.
I think it probably is. I suspect it is, especially with the 101s, which if you guys know the difference between a 001 and a 101, it's just got a brighter and crisper screen. Yeah. So a lot of people, those ones especially, are just getting more expensive every year because people are cannibalizing them and putting them in other Game Boys.
Like people mention like making videos of the cards, they want to show people these games, but then they feel bad when people pull this market up because they don't show people want it.
Yep. Well, Metal Jesus talks about that a lot, how, the options are you either don't show off the hidden gems and people just go their lives without knowing that these games are cool, or you show them off and you're going to have, the prices are going to go up on them. And I'm surprised there haven't been any, insiders here who have taken, what's he gonna put on the next video? I'm gonna buy 10 copies of that and resell it later. I'm actually, have any of you guys done that? You don't have to admit to it, it's okay. Okay.
They will.
But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a consequence of popularity, and there's only two options. Like he says, it's just you either don't tell these people and they won't ever know about it. The game will stay obscure and they'll stay cheap, but few people will ever know, or you affect the marketplace by telling people about it. So, other questions? Oh, sorry. I'm gonna get the girl first, and then I'll get you guys.
All right. So, beginning your YouTube channel, I know you started to do more time in that last year or so. What are your plans for your channel? Can you give us a little preview on maybe what you're working on next?
Yeah. So you guys probably hate me for putting out so little content. Let me tell you why. I have a good excuse that I guess only you guys are gonna know because I never talk about it. I'm actually still in my last quarter of college. So I am doing full-time school, full-time owning a business. That is why I'm not putting anything on YouTube. So it will happen very soon as I am done. And I have plans for quite a few videos coming up. I've got one which is kind of a smaller one, but I wanted to do where I have some of the really rare Game Boy consoles that were only released in Japan. I had a few of them come into the store, and I wanted to talk about them and talk about where they come from and why they're rare. So, for instance, one of them is an ANA, which is an airline in Japan, all Nippon Airways. It is a Game Boy Color and Game Boy Pocket that were given away in a lottery system through, if you were a frequent flyer, you could win this blue Game Boy that said ANA on it. So weird stuff like that. That's not the prettiest Game Boy or whatever, but has weird significance. There are only 4,000 of these, 2,000 of these, whatever. I've got a video on the Nintendo Sharp TV, which is the TV with the NES built into it, coming up. One of those came into the store as well, so and I'm fighting to keep it and not sell it. But I'm going to do a video on that as well. So those are a couple of the ones I've got coming up. And then, okay, you had a question?
So when something's rated, do you just average out eBay, Amazon, things like that?
Yeah, pricing is something I didn't really talk about just because people do different strategies for this. Some people mark them up just because they mean it so well and have such good selection and that sort of thing. My thing is I try to be as close to recent sold eBay listings and that sort of thing as possible. It can be tough when you have something that hasn't sold in a long time. And maybe the last time it sold, it was 3 months ago, and it was for $20, but there's nothing cheaper than $40 online right now. What do you price that at? So I typically split it down the middle when that's the case, but it can be tough. Pricing things is sometimes very straightforward because you have a lot of data to work with, and sometimes it's not at all. And sometimes you have weird one-offs, like a very rare game sold for $50 less than it had been going for, but it's just the latest one that's sold for $50 less. Like, do you drop the price by $50 just because one sold that way, or do you price it what it had been selling for, and then maybe you drop the price later if it doesn't sell. So that's sort of what I do, is I try to be most accurate to what's recent, but sometimes there's not enough good recent data to get you like a super clear answer.
How do you do your pricing labels on those games? Because like there's a new shop that came local to me that actually don't put them on the label, while I've seen all kinds of other stores put them on the game label.
Oh yeah, I'm not cool with putting sticky labels straight on a game that they can't easily come off with. So something like a PS2 game, we have labels that are like pretty weak adhesives in general. So I'll put it on like a PS2 game if it's just a normal PS2 game or whatever. For our cartridge-based games, we actually keep them in bags. It's similar to what they do in Japan. So all the labeling, pricing, all that stuff goes on a bag rather than on the game itself. For anything high-end, even remotely high-end, like $40 or more, we have these rolls of what is sticky tape material, like Post-it note material, and so those peel right off and never leave any residue. So I'll do that on a more high-end game. You put the price on top of sticky note material. The issue is I put that on everything if I could, but it's really expensive, so I don't. I saw another question, I think. Okay.
This is just personal, right? I'm glad you said that you guys try to check the prices, because, like, I was trying to find the second copy of the market, when I bought it, it has somebody. So I was like, okay, I'll check the price before I go out and go to GameStop, because that's where they sold it a lot. And so GameStop, when it was popular, when certain YouTuber did it, I bought my copy. I bought my copy for $100. And but
It's worth it.
Yeah, it's really worth it. It's really awesome. But it's like now, when it's been like a year or two, and going into a GameStop and trying to buy a copy, they're still trying to sell it for like $60. It's like I just checked the price when I went in, and it was like a $30 game.
Yeah, GameStop is notoriously bad about, and I get it because they have so many, like they have thousands of stores, so you can't be price dropping and bumping things every like 4 days. I totally get it, but yeah, it's you'll find things that are often way overpriced and occasionally way underpriced, especially with DS and Visa, although not seems like a You have a question?
Yeah, have you checked out any of the stores here?
I haven't yet. I got in a few days early, but I was with family for a funeral actually. So that's okay. I'm sorry. I probably should have said that. I'm just gonna get but yeah, so I wasn't able to. Reggie and John got to check out a lot of the game stores, and I know they had a blast, and I would love to. I hope I get to before I leave. But at least most of them are also here. So, so far I've been liking what I'm seeing. The prices are mostly really great here. It's better than most of the conventions in the Northwest. So, feel some pride.
In Washington, are game stores considered pawn shops legally?
It's a question I should know the answer to. I think so, just because we have a lot of the same laws, such as, taking IDs and that sort of thing, and console serial numbers. I don't actually know if we have to if it is the exact same to a T. I suspect it's not. I'm pretty sure it's either they have very lenient pawn shop laws or we are under a different law, but we definitely do have to have like a reseller license and all many of the same things that a pawn shop would have. But it's relatively lenient, so I suspect that it's probably different. I don't know the answer to that. Sorry.
Back to, I guess the key sort of question. Like you said, you haven't been able to go to local ones around here. I started quite a 3 years ago, and like I said, I started YouTube about 3 months ago, and it was kind of cool. I got like, you guys all kind of came here. You guys all seem to be to the northeast, which helps you guys collaborate together and get more information from each other. I think when I've looked over across the country, I've traveled sometimes with my company. I kind of felt St. Louis kind of got lucky on the mom and pop stores. They're not very corporate, but we have three really good ones where they kind of even each other at prices, but have still really good collections. I think they have very good customer service. People are always there, and you can talk to them. Kind of what you're mentioning. Now, other than like Northeast conventions, Northwest. Sorry. Northwest.
That's good. I know you meant.
Have you seen? Is there more places like to visit or to try and go to? Like I'm going to try and go to Washington to see some of those next year, some of the different conventions you guys have. Or is there other parts of the country? Like it's kind of weird. I just found out about this Comic-Con. Even though we had one before, but I think we just got really lucky in some of the stores we have locally to kind of help with our collections. But I didn't know community-wise if there's other ways to connect or see other smaller communities, like where you guys are group, where there's other people to meet and learn more about.
You know, I haven't been to a lot of other conventions outside of the Northwest. I've been to some of the really big ones like PAX East and PAX South, and but it's not the same as this type of thing. The short answer is yes, there are a lot of other conventions. I unfortunately don't know all of them, nor do I know like the names of the best ones. I've been to Classic Gaming Expo in Vegas. That was a pretty good one. I know that there's we have some East Coast guys here. They can probably tell you. Yeah. Corey and Trey, you guys are from the East Coast, right? Oh. Yeah. There are pockets of great conventions everywhere. I just don't know where the best circles are, other than the Northwest.
Okay, yeah,
that's where I'm from.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I know Texas has a lot of really good ones. I can tell you that much. But Texas is a big state.
Yeah, I know.
So,
they won't have it.
Yeah, there's. I think they're mostly in the Austin, San Antonio area. But again, it's a big state, I'm sure there's some all over. Other questions?
I was wondering how you guys do marketing. Do you do any local TV or radio?
We don't do TV, radio, print ads, basically nothing. I'm very lucky that our store has been around for 13 years. I don't have to do a whole lot outside of just having a really colorful outside. The only like digital marketing I would say, we do, social media, Facebook, that sort of thing. Social media, I say that people are honestly the most receptive to just big piles of games. Showing off the stuff that you got, and people really like that, and they will tell you if there's something in there that they want. So that's probably like the best social media strategy. I also, like Jason Metal Jesus will talk about the fact that I own a game store sometimes, which is helpful. I definitely don't ask him to do that. In fact, I discourage it because I think it sounds like shilly. But so I try to limit that. But we, through YouTube and through like I've got a podcast and stuff, like it's been mentioned enough times that's in a somewhat digital way that I think that that's kind of the extent of our marketing. I honestly, it depends on where you are, because I'm not from Missouri. Maybe print ads or TV ads are really effective here. That is totally possible. Where I'm from, it is not effective. No. When we've opened a new store, it's mostly been just a big social media campaign. We maybe have given out some flyers. I know when we opened the West Seattle store, that was around the time that I first got hired. We went through the West Seattle area and hung some flyers. But it was almost exclusively a social media and inside of our current locations campaign, because we would get when we were opening that store, there wasn't a store in West Seattle. So people who, obviously there were gamers in West Seattle who were just already coming to our other locations. So it was easy to get them to convert to just the one that's closest to them, right? But yeah, mostly our biggest strategy is just having big, bright neon colors that you can't miss. People will find you. A question?
So, or like anything just won't sell. Why can't you take the game on and just take
So on shovelware that I don't have, I'm always happy to pay for. On shovelware that I have like 20 of, eventually you get to a point where you just have to tell people like, I'm sorry, I already have 20 of, Brain Age or whatever part only for the DS. I can really only pay you like 15 cents for it. And sometimes people, I try to just be nice about it and say, I have more of these than I'm ever gonna sell. I'm not trying to rip you off. I just want you to know that either, go sell this yourself. I encourage you to do that if you want to get more money, but if you really just want to get rid of it right now, unfortunately this is the most I can give you. So I would say it's like 50-50 when you tell people that. Sometimes they really are. They're just like, I know this is true, it's fine, whatever. Yeah. And sometimes very rarely when I take that approach and I just explain to them, this is the reason, I'm really sorry, I just can't sell these fast enough to, to be able to do that. Very rarely is someone like actually super pissed off about it. They're usually pretty understanding. It's all about just wording things nicely, and I think people, gamesters don't like to, in general, like educate people and tell them their business practices and stuff, but I actually think it's helpful. I think educating people is, if they understand it a little better and understand their process, I think that they'll be more receptive to that. But, if I just flat out said 15 cents, they're just going to think I'm a jerk. But if I tell them why and explain that I'm really sorry and that normally I would love to pay more for this, it's just, they understand at least a little bit. Anything else? Yeah, what's up? Well, we had Little Samson recently. That one sold for, I actually let someone trade mostly for it because very few people have just like $1,200 in cash to drop. So if I recall correctly, I think he gave me like $500 and about $700 or $750 worth of stuff. So that's for something like Little Samson, I can make an exception with trade-in values and stuff. I just I honestly don't like keeping games that are over $1,000 in the store very long. Like it makes me feel like a target. Like I need to sleep over at night, like cradling Little Samson, making sure nobody breaks it. But we get a lot of really cool, rare stuff that's not nearly as expensive. Recently we had a Hong Kong edition Pokemon Game Boy. So this was a blue translucent Game Boy Color with a beige backing with a Pikachu lens on it, and this is official. This is not a, that sounds like just aftermarket shell, aftermarket glass or whatever, but this is official. This is an official Hong Kong only release that Nintendo, I guess, allowed them to distribute in China allowed Nintendo to distribute in very limited quality. So it's so obscure that it doesn't really necessarily sell for that much, but really cool. Or just limited edition, all kinds of limited edition stuff, this random Japanese 3DS, this random accessory. We get a lot of that sort of thing. That one I think we sold for like $170 or something like that. And honestly, that one, going back to, I think that was your pricing question, that one was literally impossible to price. There had been one sold I could find on the internet ever, and it was 4 years ago. So I'm sure it's worth more than that, but I didn't have anything to base that off of other than my intuition, and it's hard to explain to people, well, I just feel like this is worth more and stuff. So it was priced probably cheaper than it's actually worth. Who knows? Anything else? Reggie?
I haven't seen your 1-1 video. I was considering getting one. But do you think it's worth getting if I only want 2 games for it?
What 2 games?
Klonoa and then the Mega Man.
You don't want any of the There's other good games you would like.
I need to-
Yeah. There's other good ones. Well, there's a couple shoot 'em ups. Now they're expensive, but but there are a couple shoot 'em ups. If you're only getting it for 2 games, you maybe don't need to get a Swan Crystal, which is what I always recommend people get. That's the nice version of the Wonder Swan that's got a better screen, better battery life. It's like $80 to $90. If you want to get into Wonder Swan, you should get that. If not, I mean, you can pick up a Wonder Swan color for like on the cheap end, like $30, and you'll be able to play all of the Wonder Swan and Wonder Swan color games. So if you're not super into it, you haven't decided you're super into it yet, that maybe is not a bad option. Plus, they come in a lot of really cool colors.
Alright.
It is, and they have like really cute names too, like melon sherbet and mint soda, right? It's cute. Other questions? We're actually running out of time. So one more question, if anyone's got one.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I like board games, and the trend in this area, a lot of video game stores, like you said, you sell merchandise also. And I like going in a game store, and I'm there to buy games, but then I find board games, and I end up spending like $150, $250 on board games. And then some of them have vinyl records and arcade cabinets and stuff like that.
It's all part of that, what makes you different.
And that stuff's really cool. And you said that you sell merchandise. I was wondering, so what do you think when you walk into a game store and you find stuff like that personally? And then how do you decide what you use? Is it your own personal taste according to what you put in the store? Or do you have requests from customers saying, hey, I would like to collect this or that? And that makes you want to spend money on that?
Yeah, I'm more based off of what the customers want, which is not always something they know they want, plus what are people around me not doing. So I did try to do board games. It failed horribly. They were expensive and I did not make my money back. So board games, for me personally, did not work. However, there are board game stores in Seattle that do very, very well, and I suspect it's just because no one cared if we had some board games when this guy had 200 board games. So I think it's awesome when stores carry something different, and I think board games are a great way to go. Vinyls can be a great way to go, but you have to sort of know your customer base. Because we carry a lot of imports, I carry a lot of just Japanese stuff in general. Cute things, keychains, gachapons, that sort of thing.
Video game soundtracks?
Sometimes. We don't import them anymore, though, because we used to, and again, they didn't do so well. So a lot of it can be hit or miss, and so that's part of that pivoting thing I talked about. Don't force it. Like, I could have tried to force video games board games. Board games are really popular in Seattle, and I could have just been like, why aren't people buying them? Let me just order more and more and more, and it just wasn't working. So rather than forcing it, you just cut loose and say, okay, well, board games are not for our customers, and you move on. Yep. Well, sometimes you have to. You change. You make constructive changes. Yes. All right. It is 7:01 now, so I think that is all the time I have for my panel. Thank you guys so much for showing up. I really appreciate